The silent arrival, the stars were silent. The black sea of space stretched endless, broken only by the faint light of distant suns. In that silence, a fleet of alien ships drifted slowly toward Earth. They were not warships. Their bodies were smooth and elegant, built not for battle but for diplomacy. Their lights pulsed gently like a soft greeting in the void. They had come with a message of peace. Inside the lead vessel, alien envoys prepared their words. They had studied humans for years. They knew Earth's history, its wars, its hunger for survival. Still, they believed peace could be offered. Their voices carried hope. Their mission was simple: reach Earth, open dialogue, create trust. They imagined shaking hands with humans, exchanging knowledge, building something greater than war. The message was sent across the void. Their language was translated into human signals. The words were careful, respectful. We come seeking peace. We come as friends, not as rulers. We ask for your trust. The signals reached Earth. They expected a reply, a welcome, perhaps a warning. Minutes passed, then hours. The aliens grew uneasy. Silence filled their channels. Earth, a world filled with billions of human voices, gave no answer. In the command hall of the alien flagship, tension thickened. Their leader, an old diplomat with silver markings across his skin, leaned forward. "Send it again," he ordered. The message pulsed once more toward Earth. Still no answer. The alien fleet floated in orbit, above the blue and white marble of Earth. From this distance, the planet looked fragile, almost defenseless. The aliens whispered among themselves. Perhaps humans were preparing a greeting? Perhaps their technology was slower. They told themselves these stories to keep hope alive. Then the silence broke. Not with words, not with a voice, with a soundless roar of power. Sensors across the alien ships screamed with sudden warnings. Energy spikes lit up their screens. Something vast was moving in the shadows beyond Earth. At first it looked like a fragment of night, a dark shape hidden against the curve of the planet. Then it moved. Metal gleamed. Engines burned. A human warship emerged. The aliens stared. Their ships were large by diplomatic standards, but this vessel dwarfed them. Its hull was black steel, shaped like an angular predator, its surface carved with scars of battles long past. Massive engines glowed white-hot, leaving trails of fire against the blackness. On its upper deck, enormous cannons rotated, locking into position. The aliens froze. This was no ship of peace. The vessel drifted closer, steady, confident, unhurried. Its size cast a shadow across the alien fleet. Every diplomat in every chamber felt the weight of its presence. Their translators whispered through comms. It had no broadcast, no voice, no greeting. The warship spoke in silence. The alien leader trembled. His people had faced war before, but never like this. "Send another message," he ordered quickly. His voice cracked. "Tell them again. Tell them we seek peace." The words flew out once more. The human ship did not answer. Instead, its weapons powered on. The twin cannons glowed bright orange, heat rolling from their tips. The ship's surface came alive with smaller turrets, missile bays, and strange glowing systems the aliens could not identify. Every weapon turned toward them. The alien fleet panicked. Crews shouted, alarms wailed, screens flashed red. In the void of space, their fear echoed louder than words. They had come to speak of trust. Now they stood in the shadow of death. The old leader closed his eyes. "We misjudged them," he whispered. He saw his people clutching at consoles, struggling to hold their composure. These humans were not answering with diplomacy. They were answering with power. The warship continued forward, silent, merciless in its movement. Its lights painted across the alien vessels, scanning them as if deciding which one to crush first. Every second stretched long, each breath heavy. Then the aliens noticed something else. The warship was alone, only one. Only this one ship had risen from Earth's orbit. Yet its presence felt heavier than entire fleets. Its design was brutal, efficient, filled with sharp edges and silent fury. The aliens realized the truth with sinking hearts. This was not Earth's only ship. If one existed, others must too. For centuries, they had thought humans were fragile. They had thought Earth was weak, a world bound to the limits of its small system. Now, staring into the black eyes of this vessel, they knew they had been wrong. The silence pressed against them once more. The alien fleet drifted, too afraid to move, too weak to resist. Their peace offerings meant nothing here. Humanity had chosen a different answer. The warship tilted slightly, its cannons glowing brighter. A warning or a promise. The alien leader's voice shook as he whispered, "We came for peace." Instead, we found their wrath. The silence of space swallowed his words. The first chapter of fear had begun. The weight of history. The alien fleet hung frozen, staring at the human warship that loomed before them. It was not only the size of the vessel or the glow of its weapons that filled them with fear. It was something else. Something hidden deep in the silence. A memory. A shadow of history that pressed against every watching heart. Humans had not spoken. They had not replied. They had only revealed what they had built, and in that silence the aliens began to understand why. For thousands of years, humans had lived in conflict. Their world's history was carved with war and struggle. While many civilizations in the galaxy had risen in peace and fallen in comfort, humans had grown strong by surviving hardship. They had fought one another, sometimes over land, sometimes over beliefs, sometimes simply for survival. Each battle had left scars. Each war had taught lessons. From fire and steel, from ships and planes, from missiles and bombs, humans had climbed higher. Even when peace returned for a time, their memory of war never faded. They had carried it forward, always preparing, always building. The warship now before the aliens was not an accident. It was the child of every war humans had ever fought. The alien diplomats remembered the reports they had read before coming here. They had seen images of Earth's wars. They had thought them primitive, almost tragic compared to the galaxy's advanced ways. But now, watching the silent warship drift like a predator through space, they realized they had been blind. The humans had not forgotten their past. They had transformed it. The alien leader leaned back in his seat, his eyes fixed on the massive vessel. His aides whispered around him, their voices trembling. "Why do they answer like this?" one asked. "Why not speak?" The old leader shook his head. "Because to humans, words have failed them before." He remembered one passage from the human records, how nations had signed treaties, spoken of peace, only to betray each other days later. To humans, peace was a fragile promise, always broken, always temporary. But steel and fire, that was permanent. The warship drifted closer, its engines humming like the heartbeat of a giant. Its hull bore markings that the aliens could not read. But they knew they were not decorations. They were warnings, names of battles, or perhaps the fallen. The humans carried their past with them, written into the skin of their machines. The aliens whispered again. "We came for peace. They show us war. But was it war they were seeing or survival?" The leader's eyes narrowed. Perhaps the humans did not trust anyone. Perhaps they had built this ship not to attack, but to make sure they would never again kneel. He felt the truth sinking into him, heavy as stone. This warship was not simply a weapon. It was a message, a shield forged from centuries of blood and fire. The alien fleet began to understand. Far below, Earth spun in silence, its oceans glimmering under sunlight. To the aliens it looked beautiful, alive, fragile, and yet the warship above it told another story. Earth was fragile only in appearance. Beneath its surface lived a people who had grown strong through pain, a people who no longer trusted soft words or promises. The warship was Earth's voice. For the aliens, the silence became unbearable. They sent another signal, this time filled with desperation. "We are not here to harm you. We only want peace." No reply. Instead, the warship adjusted its position. Slowly, deliberately, its weapons moved. Not firing, not yet, but watching. The message was clear. Humans heard them. Humans understood. And humans did not care. The alien leader closed his eyes. He thought of the stories he had heard about other species. Races that had mocked humans. Races that had tried to take from them only to vanish in shadows and rumors. Now standing before this warship, he understood what had happened to them. The galaxy had thought humanity was weak. They had thought Earth was a small world with small weapons. But humans had been building something else all along, something no one expected. The warship glowed brighter, its engines flaring as it circled slowly above Earth. It moved with the confidence of a predator that feared nothing. The aliens lowered their eyes. They had come expecting dialogue. Instead, they were staring at the weight of human history itself. The silence stretched long, heavier than any words. And in that silence, one truth became clear to every alien who watched. Humanity did not forget. Humanity endured. And humanity had answered. The standoff, the alien fleet floated in uneasy silence. Their bright silver ships, polished for diplomacy, now seemed like fragile shells beside the black mountain of steel that was the human warship. It did not move fast. It did not need to. Every turn of its cannons, every faint hum from its engines spoke louder than any voice. Inside the alien flagship, fear spread like a slow fire. Officers whispered at their stations, their hands shaking as they watched the human vessel drift closer. The old leader sat at the center, his face lined with tension. He raised his hand, forcing his crew into silence. "Send another signal," he said quietly. "We must not give up." The signal flew into the void. It was gentle, pleading, "We are not enemies. We come to build peace. We come unarmed." For long moments the fleet waited, their eyes fixed on the dark ship ahead. The warship answered without words. Its hull shifted, metal plates sliding apart, revealing long rows of hidden missile bays. Red targeting lights flickered alive, painting the alien vessels in silent dots of death. Their sensors screamed warnings, shields activated in panic, glowing around the alien ships like fragile glass. It was no longer silence. It was a standoff. The alien crew felt the truth in their bones. Humans were not threatening anymore. They were ready. If one command was given, if one trigger was pulled, their fleet would vanish in fire. The old leader gripped his chair tightly. His heart pounded against his ribs, heavy as stone. "Hold position," he whispered to his crew. "Do not run. Do not attack." His words tasted bitter. He had lived long, had seen empires rise and fall, but never had he stood so close to absolute death. On the other ships, panic grew. Young officers begged their captains to retreat, to escape before the warship struck. But their captains knew there was no escape. The human ship was faster, stronger, and every movement would be read as defiance. To run would mean destruction. The aliens had come with open hands. Now those hands shook, desperate not to anger the silent predator before them. Still they tried again. "We are not here to fight," they sent. "We are here to understand. Please, speak with us." But the warship did not speak. Instead, its cannon shifted again, now pointing at the alien flagship. The old leader felt the beam of invisible focus fall upon him. It was like the eye of a beast narrowing on its prey. He could almost feel its weight pressing against his chest. For the first time in his long career, words failed him. One of his aides broke the silence. "Why did they not destroy us? If they wished it, we would already be gone." The old leader looked at the glowing cannons and felt the truth creep into his heart. "Because they want us to understand," he whispered. "This is their language. This is their answer. A warning, a lesson, a shadow of power." The standoff dragged on, every second like a blade at their throats. The alien ships held still, their engines low, their shields trembling. The human warship drifted among them, scanning, watching, its weapons locked but silent. It was a predator circling its prey, deciding whether to strike or to let them live. The aliens' thoughts turned bitter. They had thought themselves advanced, wise, ready to guide younger species. They had believed humanity would greet them as students greet a teacher. But this was different. It was they who stood as children now, trembling before a master. Across the galaxy, no one had ever seen humans like this. But here, in orbit of their home, their true face was revealed. A species forged in war, standing unbent, unbroken, and unwilling to kneel. At last, the warship stopped moving. Its weapons glowed brighter for a single breath, then cooled. Slowly, the targeting lights vanished. The missile bays slid shut. The massive ship tilted away, engines burning stronger now as it returned to orbit above Earth. The aliens let out the breath they had been holding. Relief swept through their ranks, though it was sharp and painful. They had been spared, but not welcomed. The old leader pressed his hands together. His voice was heavy, almost broken. "They will not speak to us," he said. "They do not trust us. And maybe they never will," the other captains whispered in fear. "Then what are we to do? Retreat? Or wait for their judgment?" The old leader's eyes remained on the warship as it faded into distance. "We wait," he said, "because this standoff is not over. It has only begun." And deep inside, though he did not say it aloud, he knew the truth. Humans had given them a choice, leave in silence or face their fire. Either way, the galaxy would never see humans as weak again. The message of power. The alien fleet floated in silence, their silver ships dim against the black ocean of space. Fear had cooled into dread. They had stood locked in the gaze of the human warship, certain that death was only a heartbeat away. Yet the shot never came. The humans had turned aside, but they had not left. The aliens could not relax. Every sensor still tracked the massive vessel. Its weapons slept, but only lightly, like a predator resting with eyes half open. The old leader felt it in his bones. Humans were not finished. He was right. Without warning, the warship changed course. Its engines flared, burning so bright that the shadows of the alien fleet stretched long against the stars. Slowly, it drifted toward a barren asteroid that floated near Earth's orbit. A chunk of rock left adrift in silence. The aliens watched, confused. Their voices whispered through comms. "What are they doing? Why move there?" The old leader said nothing. His hands clenched on the edge of his chair. He had guessed their intention. He almost wished he was wrong. The warship tilted, its cannons aligning with the dead rock. The glow built in its barrels, light growing hotter, brighter until it turned space into a burning sunrise, and then it fired. The beam struck the asteroid with unstoppable force. For a single second there was only silence. Then the rock shattered. The explosion lit the void like a star being born. Fragments tore outward, glowing white with heat. The blast shook the alien ships, rattling their hulls, blinding their sensors. Their alarms screamed as waves of debris scattered past them, each fragment large enough to have torn through their ships had it been aimed. When the light faded, the asteroid was gone. Nothing remained but drifting dust. The aliens stared in horror. That rock had been larger than any of their vessels. It had taken the human ship a single strike to erase it. Not damage, not break, erase. The old leader closed his eyes. That, he whispered, was their message. The younger officers struggled to breathe. They destroyed it. Only to show us? To warn us? Yes, the leader said. His voice shook. That is their way of speaking. The warship did not turn its cannons toward the alien fleet. It did not fire again. It only drifted back into its place above Earth, silent, unhurried, its engines glowing faint. But no one doubted what had been said. The message was clear. This is what will happen if you cross us. The aliens' desperation deepened. They had come as envoys. They had brought gifts, words, dreams of peace. But what did those things mean now? Their gifts seemed like toys before the shadow of that warship. Their words fell empty in the void. Their dreams of peace were broken by the soundless roar of a single cannon. In the alien flagship, the council gathered in whispers. If they wished us destroyed, one said, it would be done already.
Why hold back?
Because, the leader said, they want us to leave with this memory. They want us to carry this fear across the stars. He knew it was true. Humans had not spoken, but they had carved their answer into the galaxy's heart. They were not seekers of alliances. They were not petitioners of peace. They were guardians of their world, standing behind walls of steel and fire, daring anyone to test them. The other captains shifted uneasily. If this is their greeting, what would their wrath be? No one answered. The silence itself was the answer. From afar, the human warship glowed faint, its shadow stretching across the planet it guarded. Earth, blue and white, spun gently beneath it, but no one was fooled. That small world was shielded by a weapon the galaxy could barely understand. The alien fleet whispered in fear. Messages spread between ships. Officers wrote hurried notes, knowing they might soon become history. Pilots sat frozen in their seats, hands hovering over controls they dared not touch. The old leader felt the weight of it all. He had dreamed of a day when humans would be allies, when their energy would be joined with others to build a brighter path. Instead, he stood in the darkness of space, watching that dream burn to ash in the fire of a single cannon blast. And yet, deep within, he felt something else. Respect. The humans had shown him their truth. They had suffered, they had endured, and they had built something that no promise could weaken. They had chosen survival over hope, and perhaps in a galaxy filled with betrayal, that was the only choice that had ever mattered. The warship's silence pressed against them all. It did not need to say the words, "We are strong. We are ready. Come closer, and you will fall." The aliens knew they had no reply. The standoff had become a warning, and the warning had become legend. The galaxy trembles, the alien fleet remained in orbit, silent and broken in spirit. The warship had spoken with fire, and every envoy now knew what it meant. They had not been destroyed, but they had been branded with fear. That fear would not stay in their hearts alone. It would travel across the stars. The old leader stood at the viewport of his flagship, staring at Earth below. The blue planet glowed in calm beauty, its oceans glimmering like jewels beneath clouds of white. It looked innocent. But above it floated the Dark Guardian, watching, waiting, daring anyone to come closer. "Prepare the retreat," the leader said at last. His voice was heavy, almost a whisper. "Send word to all ships. We leave." His officers obeyed without question. Relief spread through their crews, though none dared to celebrate. They felt no victory here. They felt only the weight of survival. Engines came alive across the fleet, one by one, their light filling the void as they prepared to leave human space. The alien ships turned slowly, their formations uneven, their pride shattered. To the galaxy, they would say they had gone to Earth in peace. But they would all know the truth. They had been measured and found wanting. As the fleet pulled away, the human warship did not follow. It simply watched, its cannons quiet but awake, its presence heavy. It allowed them to go. It allowed them to live. That was its final message. Back inside the flagship, the old leader gathered his envoys. Their faces were pale, their voices low. Some were angry, others afraid, but all were shaken. "What do we tell the council?" one asked. The leader's eyes stayed fixed on the stars. "We tell them what we saw," he said. "We tell them humanity does not seek peace. Humanity seeks survival. We tell them Earth has built weapons that no one should face. And we tell them this: never again must we approach their world lightly." The envoys nodded in silence. None dared to argue. As the fleet vanished into the black, the story began its journey. Every alien ship carried whispers back to its homeworld. Every officer told their families of the ship that had shattered stone with a single strike. Every envoy told their governments of the silence that spoke louder than words. And soon, the whispers became warnings. In the markets of distant planets, traders spoke of the humans who answered peace with steel. In the halls of alien governments, leaders debated what to do. Some argued that humanity must be feared. Others argued they must be left alone. None spoke of attacking, not anymore. The legend spread. The deadliest warship in the galaxy. That was the name carried on every tongue. Some said it was the only one of its kind. Others said Earth had dozens hidden in orbit, waiting, silent as shadows. The truth no longer mattered. Fear had already done its work. Even the most powerful empires hesitated. They looked at Earth with new eyes, not as a young world, but as a fortress built in blood. Their spies searched for answers, but none could say how far humanity's strength truly reached. That mystery only deepened the terror. For the humans, life on Earth went on. The oceans still moved. The cities still shone with light. The voices of billions still rose each day. But above them, the warship drifted, patient and unmoving. It was more than metal. It was a shadow of their past and a promise to their future. The old leader, now far from Earth, sat in silence within his cabin. He had faced countless journeys, countless dangers, but this one weighed heavier than all the rest. He thought of the cannon blast, the silence of the warship, the cold power that had spared him yet scarred him forever. He whispered to himself, words only the stars could hear. They did not destroy us, but they destroyed something else. They destroyed our illusion of safety, and he was right. Across the galaxy, countless races would sleep less easily now. They would glance at the stars and wonder if the humans were watching. They would whisper to their children that Earth was a place never to be tested, never to be provoked. The galaxy trembled, not from fire, but from the memory of what could come. And deep above Earth, the warship drifted in silence, its cannons dark, its engines calm, a predator waiting in the shadows. The message was finished. The legend had begun.